everybody, it is time for another Witcher review, this time on the third book in the saga called The Blood of Elves. And like with the other two books in the series so far, I found that the prose and simple plot and yet depth of character combined really well in this book, and there's a lot more emotional heartstrings because the way this book is written as opposed to the other two. The other two are more like a bunch of shorter happenings and stories that connect via how the characters are developing. This third book is a more singular story. There's still, Sapkowski clearly likes to play with time and how things are told. There's a lot of flashback elements or references to something that are then explained by longer things. But for the most part, it's a linear story that focuses on Ciri. We obviously were introduced to her in Sword of Destiny, and I guess kind of in The Last Wish because we saw how the Law of Surprise came to be enacted by her. And this book really sets Ciri as the center of this story, with Geralt and Yennefer both revolving around her. In fact, to the point where it seems kind of like they're her surrogate parents, so to speak. Not exactly, but there is that feel as you go through this book. I said a lot about The Witcher already in this is my third review, so I had two other reviews, so go back there to see more of sort of the overall feel and why I like the style. The prose are simple, but that goes really well with Geralt and in a way, Yennefer. One of the ways I think this book does slip up, however, is that same storytelling device when applied specifically to Ciri, in my opinion, doesn't work quite as well because she's a different character, but Sapkowski doesn't really switch his viewpoint mode and how he describes things. So I did think that was a weakness, brought it down a little bit. For the most part, I really enjoyed this book. It's hard to talk about this without talking about more spoilers about the book, so the longer series part of this review is definitely going to be the spoiler section, which is going to come at the end of the video here in a minute. But for the most part, if you haven't already, let me beg you to read the Witcher books. They are incredibly unique and yet familiar, very easily accessed, and all of them are relatively short. They're like 300 to 350 words. That's what I mean when I say he's very economic in his writing style, Sapkowski, because I feel like Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri are such towering figures, even with that short page count. Now, be ready, because besides those three, no one else really is. Except for Dandelion. I will throw Dandelion in there, but I think that's more than enough. And this book, Blood of Elves, I'm going to give a universal recommend, which means so far the first book is a best of all time and the next two are universal recommend. So that's pretty damn good. You should go check them out. Mainly what I want to talk about is how much I love the separate sections of Geralt and then Yennefer training and giving what they know to Ciri, kind of passing on their knowledge to the next generation. And that's the way that they show love and how different it is and how it brings them closer to Ciri but separate from each other. Like in Kaer Morhen, there's the fighting and the instinct that Ciri is learning and the physical strength of things that she is learning. And that's sort of how Geralt is showing his love and support and trying to give a place for her, because that's his place where he feels comfortable. Yennefer is giving her the strength of a sorceress and teaching her about power and the energy that comes from that and the power even of her sexuality. That is what she's teaching. And that's where she finds sort of like her personality. And so they're both giving to her what they have, but Ciri is not exactly just like either of them. So she's not exactly happy with both, even though she loves both of them and is trying to find a place in this world that has been so cruel to her for the most part. So I think that is the best part of this, the Rayance stuff. Obviously, he is, this evil character that we don't want, obviously, to win or have Ciri, and it's interesting to have the Witcher chase him and find out about him, and the whole aspect by the university is interesting. But for the most part, what I loved about this book is the relationship of Ciri and how it grows with Yennefer and Geralt, and it got me so excited for the main story. The next book is A Time of Contempt. That's all I have. I know this is a shorter review, but as you go further along in the series, it's harder to talk very specifically without more, spoilers, so to speak. But love this book. Check it out if you haven't already. As always, please check out my Patreon to support me. Also, like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. As always, first in, last out.